Okay, let's unpack this. We're diving deep into a stack of sources today.
Yeah.
Um, Transcripts from true crime documentaries, articles from news outlets that covered the trial, the aftermath.
Right. And together they really tell the story of a relationship that just took such a dark turn. You've got wealth, intense jealousy, and, well, a tragic end on the Costa del Sol.
Absolutely. Our mission here, our deep dive, is to pull out the most important details from all these sources. We want to understand the timeline, the people involved.
And the complex dynamics, yeah. What the sources say led to murder. And also look at what they tell us about the pursuit of justice in this case.
So get ready. This story is packed with surprising facts, and it definitely raises some challenging questions about obsession and, well, the consequences.
Let's jump right in. And the story, really, it has to start with Andrew Bush. Sources describe him as the successful 48-year-old British millionaire businessman.
Right, and he had that nickname, didn't he? The King of Bling.
He did, yeah. Tied directly to his jewelry business, gold trader. Tells you something, perhaps.
King of Bling certainly paints a picture. And his lifestyle, wow. According to the sources, it absolutely lived up to that name.
We're talking a mansion in Wales, over €1 million. A fleet of luxury cars.
Yeah, Ferrari, Lamborghini, Hummer. The vehicles alone, what was it, over 1.5 million euros?
That's what the sources say. And then, of course, there's the other home, the villa in Casa del Sol, Spain.
Which becomes absolutely central to this story later on.
But he wasn't just about the business and the bling, was he? Sources mention he was married for many years.
Yeah, to Samantha Mason, a journalist.
Yeah.
They had a daughter, Ellie Mason Bush. They divorced before he met Mayka, though.
Okay. And how do the sources actually describe him? Beyond the money, I mean.
Well, it's a bit of a mix, isn't it? He's described as vain, definitely a womanizer, not particularly discreet about it either, but also an excellent leader. Sometimes forceful, sure, yeah, but with real confidence, a clear presence.
And the sources all seem to agree on one thing.
He adored his daughter, Ellie. Yeah, that comes through loud and clear.
So that's Andrew. Now, the other key person, Mayka Kukucova. Born in Slovakia in 1990.
And she had this dream, right, since childhood, to be a model.
Yeah, apparently did fashion shows, photo shoots back home. She moved to England when she was 18, looking for, better opportunities.
Did she find them? In modeling?
She landed some jobs, yeah, but sources indicate it wasn't the big success she'd hoped for, so she did other work too. Chambermaid, cook, saleswoman.
And that's the connection. She got a job in one of Andrew's jewelry stores.
Exactly. That's how they met. And the initial descriptions of her? Quite striking. Beautiful, drew a lot of attention.
Andrew liked that.
Sources suggest he did. He enjoyed the attention, liked having, well, a beautiful woman by his side.
So the relationship starts in 2012.
Yeah.
And at first it sounds, well, pretty good.
From the outside, yeah. Sources report Andrew was generous, lots of presents, trips to beautiful places in Europe, photos of them hugging, smiling.
Andrew's daughter even said her dad seemed madly in love.
But here's the thing. The sources really highlight how quickly that seemed to change. Over the, 2.5 years they were together? It became turbulent.
Not just arguments, though. The sources point to something more intense.
Oh, yeah. Clear signs of trouble reported. Mayka apparently started showing excessive jealousy, always wanting to check his phone, his computer, described as becoming possessive, even violent.
And there were specific incidents mentioned, weren't there?
Absolutely. Andrew's sister, Rachel, talked about a shopping trip. Mayka apparently screamed, threw a bag at Andrew when he wouldn't buy things. Rachel said these episodes became common.
Wow. And damaging his laptop? Putting it under a running tap?
Yes. And then there was that alleged fake taxi accident. Just to get attention, make him worry. It sounds like a real pattern.
A pattern of disruption, yeah. And the jealousy wasn't just about other women, was it? It extended to his family.
Especially his daughter, Ellie. Sources say it got so bad, Ellie actually had to move house because of Mayka's behavior towards her.
That's intense. And removing photos?
Couldn't bear seeing pictures of Andrew's family, apparently. Took down everything that wasn't a picture of the two of them. A clear attempt to, sort of, isolate him.
How is Andrew handling all this? Did he see the red flags?
The sources suggest he did see it, yeah. He realized the gravity, but at first maybe tried to ignore it, believed he could change her, perhaps.
A common mistake, maybe? What did people around him think?
Those close to him felt she was immature, couldn't control her anger. They thought changing her was, well, impossible.
So he did eventually have a kind of realization.
It seems so. Sources close to him say he came to see the sweet girl he first met was, quote, wearing a mask.
Okay, and then this alleged fake robbery incident. September 2013. That seems like a major turning point, right?
Right.
Especially as sources say the relationship was already basically over by then.
Right. Found handcuffed, pillow over her head. Claimed armed robbers, but the police found nothing. No evidence, no witnesses.
And Andrew's family thought it was a hoax.
They strongly suspected it. Maybe to stop him traveling for work, because his passport was supposedly one of the things taken. They found it very convenient. It happened when she was alone.
And this happens right before the actual breakup.
Exactly. The breakup itself was October 2013, right after that incident.
How did Mayka take it? Did she accept it was over?
Not even close, according to the sources. Refused to accept it. She started posting things online, YouTube videos of them kissing, screenshots of loving texts.
Begging him to take her back.
Yeah, saying days without him were meaningless, wanted to be together forever. It sounds less like sadness and more like obsession, a refusal to let go.
And Andrew, what was his response to all this?
Ignored it, sources say. He was moving on.
But she kept pushing.
Kept insisting, even chasing him sometimes, reportedly. People close to her said she was so shaken she didn't want to work, barely left the house. Unless it was to go after Andrew.
Okay, so this is escalating. Did Andrew involve the authorities?
He did. He notified them about her behavior, and that led to a restraining order being issued against her.
Which meant she had to stay away. So she went back to Slovakia.
Yes. And on the surface, maybe things looked a bit better. She got a job, started dating someone new.
Right, this Peter Kukucova.
Yeah.
The bodybuilder.
Yeah, 20 years old. Sources say she looked better, maybe more settled externally, but deep down, apparently the obsession with Andrew just got stronger.
And this new boyfriend, Peter, what's his deal?
A friend described him as hopelessly in love with Mayka, willing to do anything. Apparently they still write letters.
And there was that claim Mayka made about Andrew being aggressive towards her.
Yes, but the police checked Peter Kucuk's background. They found a history of aggression linked to him, so they suspected he was likely the one who'd attacked Mayka, not Andrew. Adds another layer, doesn't it?
Definitely complicates her claims. Meanwhile, Andrew had moved on. He meets Mayka Kukucova.
December 2013, around Christmas, she was 23, a Russian student working in a coffee shop in England.
And things got serious quickly.
Seems so. They fell in love, started dating, confirmed Mayka was really out of the picture. And they posted photos online, trips, parties.
Which Mayka saw.
Which sources say made her indignant and very jealous. Seeing him happy with someone else? That seems to have been a major trigger.
And this is where that really chilling detail comes in about how she was still monitoring him.
Yeah, despite the restraining order, the distance, she kept observing him through social media. But it was more direct than that.
The Find My Friends app.
Exactly. Sources reveal she was tracking his steps using that app on his phone.
How? How did she get access?
Apparently she installed it on his phone when they were still together, with the specific intention of watching him later, it seems. Maria saw the app, but Andrew didn't know what it was, didn't recognize the email address used to activate it.
Wow. That suggests, well, a level of planning, doesn't it?
Well,
surveillance that started way before.
It really does. So Mayka's watching. She sees he's going to the Spain villa with Maria in April 2014, and she finds out they aren't expected for a few days.
And she has keys. Keys Andrew forgot she had.
Right. That knowledge, combined with the jealousy, it seems to set the final plan in motion. She flies to Spain April 2nd, takes a taxi to the mansion.
And then she waits?
For 2 entire days. Sources report she stayed there April 2nd to the 4th, waiting for them, apparently just lounging around, sleeping in his bed, knowing they were coming.
That's incredibly calculated.
It really is. Which brings us to the night itself, April 5th, 2014. Andrew and Maria arrive back at the villa just after midnight.
And they're relaxed, laughing as they go in.
But Maria, the sources say, felt it instantly. The moment the lights went on, something was wrong. She saw women's underwear hanging near the entrance, a suitcase, heels.
Her heart must have been pounding. She felt someone was there.
She followed Andrew inside, went upstairs, and ran right into Mayka.
And the description of Mayka at that moment.
Very calm and very still, like a rock. Hair down, wearing pajamas, tiny shorts, flimsy vest. The contrast with Maria's panic. Terrifying.
Maria screamed, ran out, got into the Hummer outside, waited there.
Andrew came out, told her it was fine, not to worry, but call the police. Quickly.
But her phone was dead. She waited, thinking Andrew could handle it.
Only a few minutes passed. Then Maria heard it. 3 shots. From a .38 revolver.
The details are awful. 1 shot hit his arm.
2 hit his head.
And inside, Mayka's actions immediately after.
Yeah.
The sources describe her staging the scene.
Yes. Put the gun in Andrew's hand, trying to make it look like suicide. And she stole his watch. Maria, outside, heard screams, then bangs. Thought maybe furniture was being thrown.
Then Mayka leaves, locks the door, and she has the Hummer keys.
She goes to the car where Maria's waiting. Maria described it as chilling-wise. Mayka calmly told her to get out, Andrew said she could use the car to get to the airport. That calmness.
Unbelievable, so Mayka drives off in the Hummer.
Maria's terrified, locked out. Calling for Andrew, no answer. She finds an outside socket, charges her phone, calls the police, calls Andrew's sister.
But the police took a while.
Difficulty finding the place, apparently. Then over 2 hours to break down the reinforced door.
And inside, the scene they found. Andrew's body, the 3 gunshot wounds, and the gun in his hand, just as Mayka had placed it.
While this was happening, Mayka ditches the Hummer a few kilometers away, continues on foot.
And calls Peter Kukucova for help?
Yep. He gets on a plane from wherever he was, meets her in Madrid. Then they drive for 3 days across Europe, back to Slovakia.
But an international arrest warrant was already out.
She turned herself in a few days later near her parents' home and was extradited back to Spain for trial.
Okay, the trial, Mayka's defense, they made several claims.
Right. One was that she was pregnant with Andrew's child, went there to tell him, and he got furious.
But that was disproven.
Easily. Timeline didn't work. October 13 breakup, April 14 arrest. She'd have been nearly 6 months pregnant. Photos showed nothing like that.
And the claim about Andrew assaulting her?
Medical exams showed signs of aggression, yes. But police linked it to Peter Kukucov's history, suggesting he was the likely aggressor, not Andrew.
So the main defense was self-defense.
Yeah. She claimed Andrew attacked her, threatened her with a gun, they struggled, she got the gun, and it went off accidentally.
But the prosecution evidence just didn't support that, did it?
Not at all. The suicide staging was obvious. Shot trajectories were wrong for self-infliction. No gunpowder residue on Andrew's hands. And 2 headshots. Medically impossible to inflict on oneself like that.
Plus the gun itself. It wasn't Andrew's, was it?
No, it was a .38 revolver Mayka had acquired illegally. Serial numbers scratched off. One source claims she bought it off a friend or dealer. Doesn't exactly scream spontaneous self-defense.
And Maria's testimony must have been crucial.
Absolutely instrumental. Reconstructing the night, revealing the tracking app, it all pointed towards the prosecution's motive. Jealousy, obsession, and seeing him move on.
So the trials in Granada, Spain, lots of media attention.
And the jury.
Yeah.
Unanimous. 9-0 guilty verdict for murder. Sources say they specifically noted she reduced his chances of defense by shooting him unexpectedly.
Sentencing was May 2016.
Yeah.
The judge gave her
15 years for murder, plus 6 months for breaking in. Total 15.5 years.
But the judge mentioned mitigating factors.
He did. Called it a crime of passion, said she acted in a passionate state of mind, noted no prior record, mentioned a heartfelt apology.
And compensation was ordered too.
Yes. $122,500 to Ellie, Andrew's daughter, and about $30,000 to his sister, Rachel.
The family's reaction? Understandable, intense.
Incredibly strong. Andrew's ex-wife, Samantha Mason, was furious on Twitter, calling Mayka a killer cow, hoping she rots, criticizing her for blaming Andrew.
Ellie spoke about getting justice for you, Dad.
And Rachel, his sister, said she could never forgive her, wished it was in a place with capital punishment, called Mayka ugly because of her personality, said she was obsessed with money, that she'd warned Andrew.
They were happy with the murder verdict, but wanted a longer sentence.
Over 20 years, yeah. And their lawyer, Eduardo Martin, made that comment, suggesting the judge was perhaps lenient because she was so pretty. Caused a bit of a stir.
Mayka's lawyer appealed, of course.
Disagreed with the murder verdict, argued self-defense, fear, modifying circumstances.
And the sentence was reduced on appeal, wasn't it?
It was. By 18 months, down to 13 years and 9 months. Reasons cited included her confession lacking total veracity, interesting phrase, but also taking into account she'd turned herself in.
Okay, so sentence reduced. Then reports about her time in prison. They were quite surprising.
Yeah, Slovakian media, a relative, described it sounding more like a resort than a jail. Learning languages, teaching English, access to a pool.
And Peter Kukucova, still in the picture.
Apparently. Friends said he was still hopelessly in love, writing letters, unsure if he'd wait for her release, though.
And the police view on the trigger.
They reportedly felt Maria's social media photos with Andrew were the final thing that pushed Mayka over the edge.
And that heartbreaking detail. The ring.
Yeah, Andrew had given Maria a €10,000 diamond ring, Planned to discuss something important, likely a proposal that night. The conversation never happened.
So, sentence reduced to just under 14 years. But then, the release. This is where it gets really surprising for many.
October 2022. Sources report Mayka Kukucova was freed after serving just 8 years, less than half the reduced sentence.
8 years.
How? Reportedly persuaded Spanish authorities she didn't pose a danger anymore.
And life after release. What do the sources say?
Stark contrast. Back on social media, Instagram, TikTok, posting pictures, enjoying the Spanish sunshine, bikinis, beauty treatments, gym, nightclubs, beach clubs.
Has she paid the compensation to the family?
Reports say no. She's apparently living near Seville, technically on parole, so she can't leave Spain.
Some sources, like that coffeehouse crime documentary, had a strong take on this.
Yeah, they called 8 years a pitiful amount, felt the justice system failed, suggested her looks might have played a part, compared her to Jodi Arias, noted she apparently refuses media interviews unless paid.
So, we've gone through the sources with you, from the clamor, the warning signs, the planning, the violence, the trial, and this quite startling aftermath.
This case, as laid out in these sources, it just raises so many questions, doesn't it? About obsession, about recognizing those signs, about how justice is perceived.
You've heard the details we pulled out, the jealousy, the tracking, that chilling 2-day wait, the violence, the staged scene.
And then the stark contrast. The convicted killer reportedly enjoying life, while the victim's family still feels the grief and injustice.
So here's the thing to really think about. Considering everything the sources described, the level of planning suggested by that app, the waiting, the staging, the sentence, maybe more importantly, the time actually served, seemed to fit the crime described. What stands out most to you about how this all unfolded, and what does it say about relationships under that kind of extreme pressure and obsession? And maybe how justice itself works?